How much of what we saw last night was about Dak Prescott not being there, in your opinion, Marcus Spears?
Gee, it was a lot. It wouldn't have been that bad with Dak playing quarterback. Now, I don't know if Dallas would have won the game, obviously, but we've seen them turn the ball over early in games and still have opportunities to win. We saw Cleveland take a lead, and Dak and his heroics and putting the ball where it needed to be, and Atlanta obviously winning that game, but being able to use his legs and come back, basically being Superman, right? Like this is a part of what the recipe has been for Dallas. And there was a significant drop-off with Andy Dalton. Michael Gallup missed a touchdown after I said he might be the best wide receiver on the roster. There were miscommunications up front. There's no one on this offensive line that the Dallas Cowboys planned on playing this year, let alone a game this year. So when you look at this thing in totality, Dak Prescott has been making up for a lot of this that's been there already. It's been masked. Zeke has already fumbled this season. Dak turned the ball over, but they were able to overcome those things by what he was doing. And look, if you can't look at last night and clearly see what Dak Prescott means to this football team, and not only how good he is in this league in comparison to the guys that are around him, you are blind, and you don't want to admit that that guy is as important to the Cowboys as anything they've tried to do over the last 3 years.
That's a particularly poignant statement with those glasses on. So, Jeff Saturday, let me come to you on that, because you were making the point earlier that that offensive line, and no one would know this better than you, looked so bad last night that in your view, maybe it doesn't make any difference who the quarterback is.
Yeah, to Swagoo's point, Superman couldn't have won last night at quarterback. I mean, I don't care how good Dak Prescott is. This offensive line is an absolute travesty. I mean, you're seeing guys run by. It's like subway turnstile. I mean, they are ripping through. Andy Dalton had absolutely no chance to make plays. And then when he does get a little chance, he's so freaked out that he finally has some time that he don't know where to go with the ball. You got your best player on offense fumbling around. Everybody looks bad. This thing is as out of control as possible from the offensive standpoint. And listen, whether Dak Prescott was at quarterback or not last night, it makes no difference because it doesn't change the guys blocking for him, and that matters. And I know we always talk about quarterbacks, receivers, running backs. That's what we always talk about. The bottom line is teams that win at every level in football, offense and defensive line win games. And this Cowboys offensive line, they ain't going to win games. And it's going to continue to look the way it did. And I don't care. Andy Dalton, you can put it all on his feet. He didn't play a great game. One interception wasn't his fault. We saw it. But at the end of the day, Dak Prescott didn't win that game either, the way this offensive line is playing.
And Greg, pick up on that thought if you will. I know you have some tape on that offensive line and just how bad it was last night.
Yeah, and it wasn't as much about the execution. It was about the communication, which is just day one stuff. So let's take a peek at it. I mean, this is a protection here where you have 5 guys that you're responsible for in blocking. You also have 5 blockers. Your running backs in man-to-man with the will linebacker. The right guard and the center have to see that Budda Baker's in the protection scheme. Like, they have to figure out a way to come and get that guy. There's 5 guys rushing. You can't have the 5th guy make the sack. And then on this play, it's just awful. You have 4 defenders left at the center. You have a 3-man side. You cannot run stretch zone to 4 defenders on that side. It's numbers and it's leverage. They lose in both. So this was a scenario where it was a lot about the pre-snap recognition. You could clearly see that Andy Dalton and the center and the offensive line as a whole were not on the same page. But it doesn't matter if Dak was under center. I don't care if you have Joe Montana under center. It will not matter if your offensive line doesn't know who to account for and doesn't take the proper angles to get things played the way it's supposed to be played. So it was a bad look, really, from the offensive line from start to finish last night.
That said, Graziano is my insider. Is there any way to get a sense of whether Dak Prescott's agent was sitting there watching that game last night with his feet up and a cigar and a bottle of champagne, counting all the money that was rolling in? Because the one thing they have been doing is scoring points, and last night they scored 10.
Yeah, look, I mean, that's how he's been watching every Cowboys game for the last couple of years. Dak's going to make his money. The key thing that's going to determine what Dak makes is the top end of the quarterback market. What I look at is, can they really franchise him at $37.7 million next year if they have all these other holes to fill? They're going to have to be spending money on other positions. Defense, offensive line, there's a lot to deal with. Greg McElroy, I do have one question. Why wouldn't the quarterback be in sync with that offensive line. They're all backups. That's who he's been practicing with.
Yeah. So it's been that kind of bad. We'll have much more on this as we go. And Marcus, I just want you to get a sense of what you're in store for. Because in 20 minutes, Stephen A. Smith is going to join us, and he's ready for you. He tweeted, "Oh, hell no, Marcus. Put them glasses back on when you're talking about the Cowboys like you promised at the start of Get Up, and stop cussing, Pastor. You brought this on yourself." And he's laughing, and he's ready. Stephen A. is ready for Swagoo, and we will unite them in 20 minutes live right here on ESPN. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.